What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be getting into my NFL Week 16 power rankings. Not a whole lot of movement here. We have a few teams going to be dropping down quite a bit, but other than that, teams are just taking advantage of that and jumping up. But anyway, let's get into this here. Number 32. Yes, we have a new team at 32 this week, dropping down 7 spots. We have the LA Chargers. And really, they would just be dropping down one spot if I knew Justin Herbert was out for the season. I said it in my last video. If Justin Herbert's out for the year, this team is number 31. But since they were ranked number 25 last time because I wasn't expecting Herbert to be out for too long, we got to drop him, man. Giving up, 63 points to Las Vegas is just unacceptable. Brandon Staley is finally out of that organization. It needed to happen for this Chargers team. This team, without Justin Herbert, they are nothing. This offense can't get anything going. There are a lot of older players on that offense, and the defense just, we just saw it. They were atrocious. They were poorly coached and just couldn't stop them. So Chargers deserve it. They deserve to drop down 7 spots here. They're going to come down to 32. Okay, 31, we do have the Carolina Panthers. Yes, the Panthers fans, you are not at the bottom. Congratulations. They're going to be jumping up a spot. Getting the win this week against the Falcons, playing spoiler. Good for them. The defense has played a lot better the last half of this season. So that's what you like to see if you're a Panthers fan. The team's rallying on that defensive side of the football. So you got to give credit where credit's due. This Panthers team came out. They played spoiler against a Falcons team who was needing a win there. So offensively, it's still that same offense, but good win. I do think at this point in time I would take the Panthers to beat LA, but it's close between those two for sure. And then number 30, jumping up a spot, we do have the Patriots. Patriots just jumping up here because of the fall of the Chargers. At least New England was competitive for that first quarter-ish against Kansas City. It's New England. This offense is still atrocious. The defense is pretty decent, but that's all they can really say there at number 30. 29, we do have the Commanders jumping up a spot. Trying to battle back against the Rams this week late. It doesn't work. That first 3 quarters just showed why this Commanders team is just not good. I mean, this defense, man, they're getting torched after trading away their 2 best pass rushers, man. It's been tough for them to find anything to get pressure. And Sam Howell had a bad game. I believe he got benched in that one for Jacoby Brissett. Yeah, the Commanders are going in the wrong direction. I think Ron Rivera is safe to say that he's going to be gone in the offseason. 28, jumping up a spot, we do have Arizona. Cardinals just competing this week against the Niners. They were kind of in it. Kyler Murray doing some things. Defense, though, as always, just lack of talent. The Niners had a ton of explosive plays against that defense, and it showed up in there. So Arizona going to be jumping up a spot to number 30 or number 28. And then 27, drop it down a spot. We do have the Jets, and they're going to be coming into this tier. Zach Wilson gets concussed in this one. It was the same Jets this week. That was probably a fluke the previous week. Defensively, just couldn't hang in there against the Dolphins when there's a bunch of turnovers in that high-powered Dolphins offense. And offensively, it's the New York Jets. Come on now. They did nothing. So I am going to move them down to the bad tier from that performance. So interesting tier there. Let's get into this decent tier here. Starting out with number 26, we do have the Giants flipping places with their New York, the Jets. The Giants this week get unfortunately lose. Offensively couldn't get anything going. Not similar to last week. Tommy DeVito kind of struggled against New Orleans in that secondary this week. I was really frustrated with Saquon Barkley as someone who had him in fantasy. He did absolutely nothing in this game, which is unfortunate. But, the Giants, they're trying to hang in there. They're still, I think, a well-coached team. I think they can play spoiler like they did against Green Bay. But, Yeah, the New York Giants, and they have a decent defense, but that's all you can really say about that team at this point. I am going to keep them in this decent tier, though, because I think this team, I think this team could play spoiler in the next 3 weeks, honestly. All right, moving on, we do have the Raiders jumping up 3 spots. We were talking about how bad the Chargers defense was. Give credit to Las Vegas. You don't just do that against NFL caliber players without any reason. The Raiders, good win. Really made good adjustments this week from that atrocious performance against Minnesota. This Raiders team rallied in this one. And they around their interim head coach, and they just crushed LA. So congratulations there to Las Vegas. Will they make the playoffs? I don't think so. I think that's probably going to be a 1 week thing, but they deserve to come. They're going to be jumping up 3 spots from that performance. All right, dropping down 4 spots here, we do have Atlanta Falcons, and obviously the other side of the coin from the Panthers game. Falcons did lose to one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in football in Carolina. And in a must-win game, too, to make the postseason, you just cannot have that if you're the Falcons. Ritter has been benched again. It's just a problem there in Atlanta. Defensively, they hanged around. Offensively, though, just horrible performance from the Falcons. And at this point, I think it's safe to say the Saints and the Bucks are better football teams than Atlanta. And I'm going to move Atlanta down into this decent tier. I don't think this team deserves to make the playoffs or even be in the hunt. So Atlanta dropping down 4 spots. They are now down in the dumps after that performance. 23, we do have the Titans going to be jumping up a spot. Tennessee this week, they hang around. I mean, they played a good game against Houston. I thought they were going to win this one. I actually predicted the Titans to pull off this upset this week. They didn't get the job done. Had an opportunity, but couldn't get it done, unfortunately for them. But, Will Levis is still playing good football, I think, for the Titans. Defensively, they're very well coached on that side of the ball. So this team is a team that can play spoiler, for sure. They're not going to make the playoffs, but they're eliminated at this point. But this team is decent, and you got to give them credit. Number 22, we do have the Bears. They're going to be staying put, but also are going to be dropping back into this decent tier here. Almost had this one against the Browns. They were playing a good game before and just couldn't hang on, man. If they won this game, they're only a game back on the playoffs right there. So that's a very unfortunate loss for Chicago. I don't think this team is going to rally and get some help and make the playoffs at this point. But again, just like some of these other teams, they have a lot of talent. I think at this point, this team has been a lot better coached this season. I think Eberflus has saved his job. He's coaching this team pretty decent. And the Bears, they can play spoiler. They almost played spoiler to Cleveland, a team that needed that one as well. So you got to give credit as well to Chicago. They're competing for sure. They played spoiler against Detroit, played spoiler against Minnesota. This Bears team, I don't think you want to really play the Bears, especially if you need a win. You would rather play a worse football team. But Chicago, they're going to come in at 22. And then 21, we do have the Steelers jumping up 2 spots. And that's just because of these teams dropping down here. I was debating maybe keeping the Bears above Pittsburgh. Maybe you can make a case for that. Actually, probably. Yeah, I'm going to flip this, actually. I'm going to put the Steelers at 22. They're going to be jumping up 1 spot then. And then the Bears are going to be jumping up 1 spot, but dropping down a tier. So I want to put, Pittsburgh in this below. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers got absolutely rocked this week at 7-7. This team is not good enough to be a playoff team in the AFC, I think, and that's showing right now. They've got a tough 3 games as well. So, Pittsburgh now starting Mason Rudolph. I mean, just this team is a mess. The defense kind of broke down in this game. Is it getting time where Mike Tomlin's job may be in question for Pittsburgh? It's crazy to think about, but it might be that time. They're coming down here. They're they're going to stay in this decent tier after that performance. And then number 20, we do have Green Bay dropping down 6 spots as now we're in the hunt tier, man. Oh, man. The Packers, what happened these past couple of weeks? This team was looking like a very, really solid football team, especially on the defense against Detroit and KC. And things have completely turned to playing against worse football teams. And, Joe Barry, right when I started to praise him, back to Joe Barry coaching bad defenses here, soft defenses, and they get absolutely torched by Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield looked like Tom Brady. It was the same thing with Tommy DeVito last week. So just at home too, that's just not what you want if you're the Packers, dropping to 6-8 on the season. My, Green Bay is in a tough spot after that. And the playoff chase now, they're going to have to get some help at this point on. We'll see if they can do it. But the Packers, bad performance this week for them. Number 19, we do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to be jumping ahead of Green Bay. Again, like I said, Baker Mayfield showing out this week. Got to give him credit. The Buccaneers defense played well against Jordan Love. Mike Evans had a great game, as he always does. So, Buccaneers, man, you're rolling now. I'll give you credit. I had you a little bit low. This team is rallying. Do I think this team is better than the Saints at this point? It's close. I think I still would go with New Orleans, as we see in this rankings, but it's getting close for sure. The Buccaneers have impressed me the past few weeks, especially Baker Mayfield. He's playing good football. Got to give credit to that offensive coordinator down there in Tampa. All right, number 18, we do have the Colts going to be jumping up a spot. Congratulations, Indy, getting the win this week, dominating Pittsburgh. Minshew looked good this week. The defense, obviously, it's been well coached all season. So you love to see that if you're the Colts. At home on Saturday, just beating a good Steelers team like that, a decent team, it shows that this team bounced back from a bad performance. This team's disciplined. This team's well coached for sure. And you don't want to meet the Colts, I think, any given week. They can give you some trouble. So give credit to the Colts. Jonathan Taylor should be coming back as well, so that should help their offense as well. So this team right now is in the playoffs. I don't think they're one of the 7 best teams in the AFC, but they have proved that they can be they can get there. So in an evaluation year, I don't think if you're a Colts fan, you really expected this, and you got to be happy with the way this season has gone. Besides the Richardson injury, but moving on. Number 17, we do have the Saints going to be jumping up a spot here. New Orleans getting the win this week against New York. Good job finishing the job. They were the better team this week. So you love to see that if you're New Orleans. It's been a weird few months or so for the Saints. They've been a weird football team. I've kind of I've stuck with them because I didn't have much faith in the Bucs or the Falcons these past few weeks. I just think this defense is probably the best unit of that division. So, and it showed this week that defense shut down the Giants. So, good win for New Orleans. I'm not sold on this team though quite yet. Either am I on the Bucs, and especially not in the Falcons. So, it's a weird 3-leg race right now. It's coming down to 2, I think. I think the Falcons are falling behind the Saints right now. They're in the lead, I think, just barely as the better football team. Saints and Bucs are going to play in a week, I think. So that's going to be big. But to see who makes it. But New Orleans right now comes in at 17. All right, number 16, we do have the Vikings going to be jumping up a spot. I know they lose this week, but much better offensive performance with Justin Jefferson in there. And Josh Dobbs not playing, Trevor Siemian in there, or whoever that was. Wasn't that Trevor Siemian? I'm not entirely sure, but it was someone, or Case Keenum, wasn't it? I don't even know. But anyway, moving on. The Vikings, whoever it was, he played well in this game against Cincinnati. The defense played really solid in that first 3 quarters. Unfortunately, kind of gave it up against the Bengals, and the Bengals came out and won that game. But that's just how these power rankings work sometimes. You have a horrible win against the Raiders when you win 3-0. That unimpressed me. And then you have a game on the road against the Bengals that you unfortunately come up short in, but I'm more impressed with that. So it's weird. It's weird what to do with those, but Vikings are going to be coming up here, especially with the Packers dropping down as much as they are. Minnesota deserves to jump up a spot. And then the team that beat them, number 15, we have the Cincinnati Bengals jumping a spot. Jake Browning continues to play at a high level. What is this team now? Is this team 8-6 now, which is very impressive for this team is 8-6. So this team's right in the mix to make the playoffs. I think they would be in the postseason right now in the AFC. So give credit to Jake Browning. He's playing good football for Cincinnati. This Bengals defense continues to impress. Not the best week, but it's still a good defense, I think. Browning, man, even with Jamar Chase going out, and give credit to T. Higgins as well. What a game he had. He made some phenomenal catches. So I'm giving credit to the Bengals, man. This is a team that has rallied around Browning, and they're right in the mix to make this playoffs. Really, really inspiring story from Cincinnati. A few weeks ago, they were down in the dumps. It was looking like they were just going to be, done for the season, but they have rallied. All right, number 14, we have the Rams jumping up a spot. They are going to be into this playoffs tier, handling business against Washington. Stafford played a good game this week. Give credit to Stafford, Cooper Kupp as well. Those two, obviously, a dynamic duo there. The Rams defense shut down the Commanders for that first until that very end when they put in Jacoby Brissett to try and make a battle back, but it wasn't enough. The Rams offensively, really good week. Sean McVay and this team gets the job done, and right now it's looking like the Rams, especially with these tiebreakers they got, it's looking like they probably will make the postseason. They don't have the worst schedule either coming up. Okay, number 13, we do have the Browns finishing off the in the hunt tier. Yes, this team is still going to just barely be in this tier. If you look at Cleveland this week, they come out, wasn't playing great in this football game, especially offensively. Joe Flacco wasn't looking like the best, but he battles back, he dials in, and he comes back, wins this game. The Bears almost had a miracle play to win it, but didn't go their way. Cleveland gets the job done. That defense continues to show why they're a top unit in the league. And the Browns right now. This team, it will probably make the playoffs at 9-5. Don't get me wrong. I'm still not sold that this team is one of the top 7 teams in this AFC conference. That is absolutely loaded, but they're close. They're for sure close. They're just going to be staying put just barely this week, unfortunately. Number 12, we do have the Broncos dropping down 4 spots. And the reason why Denver's above Cleveland, it makes sense. The Broncos did beat the Browns. So that's why I am keeping the Broncos. It was tight. Broncos are going to be dropping down 4 spots. So I didn't really want to move the Broncos down too much. I'm going to stand my ground there. I still think this Broncos defense is pretty darn solid. I know they had a bad performance this week against the Lions. They were not good. And I still have faith in Russell Wilson. I think he's still a really solid quarterback for Denver. So I know this week was rough for the Broncos. It was a game that they probably needed to win. They have 3 really easy games, so they're going to finish probably 10-7. That's probably the bet, but it was a rough loss for the Broncos. They looked outmatched in that game, unfortunately, but they have been very good outside of that game. So I'm going to stick with my guns with the Denver Broncos right there. And then number 11, jumping up a spot, we do have Houston just barely getting this win against the Titans. you know, good win for the Texans coming on the road here to Tennessee, battling back in this one overtime crazy game. Backup quarterback, get the job done. That keeps their playoff hopes very much intact right now, and division hopes. The Colts and Texans and Jaguars are battling out for this division. So at this point, so give credit to the Texans. They're a good football team. They got a good defense with DeMeco Ryans, and Houston coming to at number 11. Number 10, jumping up a spot, we do have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to give them slightly the edge over Houston. It was an unfortunate loss against Baltimore. They just ran into the better football team. That's why I don't think this Jaguars team is a contender here. That's why the majority of the season I haven't had them in that tier ever since, especially that Niners loss. But if you look at Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is still a good quarterback. He's dealing with some things with these injuries. And then you look at this defense for the Jaguars. It has regressed these past few weeks. It's not the same unit I think we saw earlier this season. There's still a lot to be desired on that defense. A lot of meat on the bone, I think, that they need to get to. But it's still a good team here in Jacksonville. I think they're well coached as well. But they're still a few years away, I think, from a year or two away from being a top contender. They still need to work on some things. But Jacksonville going to be coming in at 10. We'll see if they can try and lock up this division. All right, number 9, jumping up a spot, we do have Seattle Seahawks getting the win this week against the Eagles. Huge win. It was a must-win game for Seattle, and they pull it out. You got to give credit, man, to Drew Lock this game. He plays a good game. Julian Love gets 2 picks in this one, 2 critical picks against Jalen Hurts here to keep Seattle in this football game. And Seattle goes down 92 yards, wins this football game. DK Metcalf had a phenomenal drive. JSN had a phenomenal drive. So, my oh my, this is why I kept the Seahawks up here in this top 10 for so many weeks. You just look at this talent on this team. It's up there with some of the better teams in the league. Even Witherspoon was out this week for Seattle. Tariq Woolen was dealing with some things, I think, as well. So, the Seahawks, man, you got to give credit to them. They're a good football team right now. You don't want to meet Seattle in the playoffs. I think if you're a team like Dallas, Philadelphia, Detroit, you do not want to meet the Seahawks in the playoffs. I'm telling you, they could give them some trouble. But Seattle is going to come in at number 9. All right, number 8, jumping up a spot, we do have the Detroit Lions right here. The Lions at 10-4. Huge win against the Broncos. And again, similar to Seattle, this is why I didn't move Detroit down so much last week. This is a good team for Detroit. Jared Goff plays really good this week. This defense figured things out this week against the Broncos. That pass rush was much better this week against Denver. So Detroit figuring things out. Much better week for their team. Dan Campbell dialed in. He got the job done. And the Lions get a big win. Going to be jumping up a spot there to number 8. Number 7, we do have the Dolphins. Dolphins shaking off that very unfortunate loss to the Titans the previous week, and they just pour it on New York, even without Tyreek Hill. That's the Dolphins I know and love. Now, I don't think this team deserves to be in the contenders here yet. I think I still need to see them beat that top team, and they get the opportunity at home against the Cowboys. That is their chance to prove they are the best of the best right there. Hopefully Tyreek Hill's in for that game for them. That one should be a good one on Christmas Eve. So it's going to be exciting for the Miami Dolphins. This is a really solid team. This offense is really freaking good. It's a scary football team. And if they win next week, I can almost guarantee they'll be in that contender tier unless there's like a crazy something going on, like an injury or something. All right, but moving on, number 6, the Chiefs staying at the same spot, handling business this week against New England. Not going to be enough for me to move this team back into the contenders tier, though. I just think the receivers still had some problems this week. You just can't rely on Mahomes and Kelsey to do everything. And the defense still really decent defense. So, you have Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be enough for you to be a good playoff team. But I don't think this is Kansas City's year at this point on in the season. Okay, we are going to have the contenders tier here. And number 5, I'm keeping the Philadelphia Eagles in this tier. They're going to be dropping down a spot. I'm going to keep the Eagles in this tier. They were going up against, in my opinion, a really good Seahawks team that needed a win on the road. It's a tough atmosphere. Philadelphia was reeling. Hurts had an illness. And am I giving a lot of excuses? Yes, I am for Philadelphia. But still, it's you just can't lose that football game. It was a big one. They needed it to get this race for the 1 seed. And they lost it. And you gotta put it on them. Nick Sirianni and this offense has got to be better. Explosive plays against Seattle. As a Seahawks fan, we have given up a lot of explosive plays the previous few weeks. They just couldn't get it done. A.J. Brown was non-existent. Thank you, because I needed him to do bad in fantasy. But anyway, the Eagles, it was an unfortunate loss. They've got to be better than that. They know that. It's still this team earlier on in the year was so dominant. They were 10-1, getting wins, very close games against some good teams. I still believe in the Eagles, and I'm going to keep them in the contenders tier. But it's close for them being down with the Chiefs and the Dolphins as a team that has recently dropped out. Number 4, though, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Drop it down a spot, and there's the Dallas Cowboys we know and love. Right when everyone was counting them in to be a top team, they go out and lose to the Buffalo Bills, and they lost bad to Buffalo. So, rough week for Dallas. I'm not worried, though, about the Cowboys. I think this defense is still I think they're still a good unit. They didn't play great. The past two of the last 3 games, the defense hasn't been great. Going back to that Seahawks game. But I still believe in that unit. I still think Dak Prescott, he played a bad football game. Let's just be straight up. We'll see. He hasn't played phenomenal all season, though. I think he'll still bounce back. But that was a wake-up call for Dallas for sure. That's just such a Dallas thing to do right there. But moving on, we do have number 3, the Buffalo Bills. Going to be jumping up 2 spots here above Philadelphia and Dallas here. They deserve it at this point. Ever since they fired Ken Dorsey, this team has been going off for the Buffalo Bills. You've got to respect it. That offense with Josh Allen has been playing phenomenal. And that defense for the Buffalo Bills shut down the Cowboys. So I've been very impressed with Buffalo the past few weeks. I think at this point, if this team makes the playoffs, this is a major dark horse team. Even if they don't win this division, man, you do not want to play Josh Allen and the Bills in the postseason. They are turning it on right now. And I think if they do make it, which is crazy that I have a team that's in the question to even make the playoffs in this contenders tier. But man, if they do make it, yikes, this team can do a lot of damage. Number 2, though, we do have the Ravens staying put, getting the job done against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not much to add on this team. Lamar Jackson plays a good game. The defense plays solid enough to beat Jacksonville. There was a few plays that they gave up that were explosive. That's kind of concerning. We saw that in the Rams game. But still, the Ravens, they're a good football team. They've proved it time and time again this season. So, Lamar Jackson's been dominant against NFC opponents this season. Can he prove it again? Which are going up against the number 1 team, the San Francisco 49ers. The top 2 teams going at it. Niners have played a lot of top 2 teams this season and made them look bad. I'm excited to see this one, though, because the Ravens have been so good against West Coast teams. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions or your power rankings. Anyway, guys, peace out.